What is up, guys? PieMuffin here, and we are back with another Tales of Arise video. So, here we are with the final Beyond the Dawn Prelude. This time we'll be going over what Alphen and Shionne are up to before the DLC actually starts. The DLC itself releases in a little over an hour as I'm recording this video, so it'll be the perfect timing to read this, get everything uploaded, and then get ready to dive into the Beyond the Dawn story expansion for Tales of Arise. So let's see. We've already checked in with Law and Rinwell and Kisara and Dohalim, which both were very much, about the relationships between the four characters since they've been apart. So I assume the same thing is going to kind of happen here, except I doubt Alphen and Shionne have been separated at all in this past year. It just really wouldn't make sense. It's not like the other four who had specific responsibilities. Like, the responsibilities of these two kind of go together. So let's take a look and see. The world's sudden upheaval drove some against the wall, while it pushed others to take action. Restless hearts seek someone to become the focus of their feelings, without even knowing how the other person may feel. Okay? Water droplets dripped down as if to mark the passing of time, a tranquil echo throughout the dark, rocky space. The dripping was soft, soon swallowed up by the cold dampness and returning to silence. Without warning, a new sound disrupted the quiet. It was boisterous irregularity of splashing puddles, a contrast to the dripping droplets. Then the unmistakable sound of human breathing and cloth scraping against metal. It's slippery. We better move quickly. Yes, you're right. Alphen and Shionne. They strode through the gloomy cavern in contrasting clothes of black and white. Not everything in the cave was natural. In places, there were signs of human activity, from sculptures to masonry, such as walls and stairs, seemingly half melted into the stone. Their complex forms create a peculiar dance of shadows in the swaying light of the fire. There were no signs of anything else moving besides the two of them, so silent as to be uncanny, and yet they walked on unbothered, as if nothing could frighten them as long as they were together. This one has an interesting shape. Alphen spoke as they passed an engraved portion at the head of a toppled column. The ruins in these caves were part of Donna's lost history. They were evidence of the civilization that had been destroyed 300 years earlier when the Renan subjugated the planet. How many ruins and relics like these remained, and how much can be constructed from them? Neither of them could even begin to guess. So nice to see her smiling, like, look how happy they are. Rinwell might be able to explain if she was here. Yeah, it all looks the same to me. It looks kind of embarrassing. It's kind of embarrassing. Had you ever seen any of this before? He'd seen the world of 300 years past with his own eyes. He should actually know better than anyone alive. But even if he tried to recall them, such memories completely eluded him. It was probably more matter of interest than memory, and there was nothing he could do about that. Alphen. Shionne's voice brought him back to his senses. At some point, they'd begun to descend a staircase. Their lamplight was reflected on the surface of the water up ahead. The path seemed to start going up again. He could see the top of the stairs on the other side of the water. Let's go along the wall. The two decided to advance along an outcropping of the wall slightly above the water's surface. If they proceeded carefully, it wouldn't pose any real danger. The water reflected back an image of the pair like a mirror. Shionne stopped moving. Alphen took note and also came to a stop. Just as he was about to ask what's wrong, he realized what she was looking at. The surface of the water, so similar to a mirror, Alphen's face stiffened. The hollowing. The hollowing was what remained of matter after it had been drained of its astral energy. Yep. A void that only reflected its surroundings. When it almost looked, it looks like liquid metal, essentially. When the two worlds merged, the vast expanse of hollowing that encompassed Rena had been brought to the New World. Though most lay underground, people sometimes discover stretches of it, just like now. The hollowing became an all-new issue after the merging, since it made roads untraversable and plots of land unlivable. Considered to be the death of matter, Much remained unknown about the hollowing, and it was considered best to not touch it at all. The two remained silent and resumed their traversal of the outcropping. Upon reaching the other side, Shionne let out a small breath of relief. After continuing for a while, she opened her mouth to change the mood. Come to think of it, I wonder if our letters arrived safely. Don't worry, the merchant I entrusted them with is reliable. It'll be fine. Suddenly, something came to mind, and he asked her a question. Here it goes. That reminds me, Shionne. Why did you ask Kisara to tell Dolim rather than sending a letter to him instead? You could have done the same with Rinwell, too. Why? She seemed troubled for a moment, then a look of exasperation mixed with anger came over her face. He was such a simpleton. Because I found it unfair. He really is so dense. Unfair? You found what unfair? This time she clearly raised her voice when speaking. Listen, they don't get to see each other as often as we do. Oh. Alphen finally understood and his face grew tense. No, she couldn't be angry at him now. Do you think I'm meddling too much? Oh, no, I don't think so. With that cleared, I sometimes get confused on who's talking because it doesn't very clearly state. It would be nice if it was kind of on the side, but whatever. With that cleared up and ready to move on, Shionne suddenly stepped on a small stone. Her foot slipped, sending her upper body backwards. Shionne! Her hand extended reflexively in response to his voice. Alphen seized her arm and pulled her back forcefully. He got so carried away he ended up hugging her against him. His incredibly earnest expression, the exact opposite of what had been moments before, came into Shionne's view. Are you okay? Thanks. Even after she regained her balance, Alphen continued holding her hand. She'd been unable to come into contact with others for so long due to her cursed thorns. Now that had changed so much that she would reach out to others without thinking. Though she was still on guard around those she wasn't close with, it was a major change from just a year earlier. Though her slip had been a close call, this awareness of the past and present made Alphen happy. How did she feel about him? Shionne suddenly, albeit carefully, so as to not seem cold, let go. Let's keep moving. We're almost at the exit. With that, she walked off. I mean, what do you mean, how did you feel? They kissed each other at the end of the game, so you would have thought they would have progressed the relationship at least a little within a year's time, but I guess not. As to avoid letting him see the look on her face, Alphen followed frantically behind, worried she might stumble again. Upon leaving the cave, they found themselves bathed in a gentle sunlight in an open area thick with plant life. A familiar sight on Donna, but in the distance was something that hadn't always been there. A strange-looking structure, neither Donna nor Renan. It had been constructed by the Helgenquill, the true Renans. Yeah. Just like the Hollowing, it was irrefutable proof that the two worlds had merged. Similar to the Hollowing, the majority were buried underground in various places around the world, with just the top exposed above ground. So like a literal fusing together. You just have random stuff, popping out anywhere. Thoughts of light danced slightly before the pair as they looked on. Astral energy, according to what they'd heard from Rinwell, these lights were likely the remnants of astral energy that had failed to materialize by the time of the merging of the two worlds. They were energy that had overflowed when the twin worlds and their 5 elements had become one world with 6. It was a harmless and not particularly rare phenomenon, but it was yet another one that hadn't existed before the events of last year. Seeing this really reminds me of how much the world has changed. Yeah, said Alphen. See, there we go. That's all I'm asking for. The only thing that hasn't changed is people's hearts and minds. Shionne heard a hint of cynicism in his voice and frowned. The battle a year earlier had changed the very nature of the world. They and their companions had played a major role in it, which brought it to some degree of public notice. At the center of it was Alphen, who especially couldn't go anywhere without drawing attention from Donnans and Renans alike. Shionne knew it wasn't something he asked for. She wanted to be close to him, just as he had once saved her. She now wanted to support him, but Alphen never tried to rely on her. Shionne found it vexing. So he's trying to be this, he wants to appear, and not even just appear, he wants to act the part of this, hero that doesn't need help to, so the people never have to, I guess, fear anything. But Now Alphen, which is kind of weird that he's acting like this post-game. Like, I feel like he was already doing this in the base game, so why is he still, like, not relying on others? That's kind of weird. But there's probably something that will be addressed in the DLC itself. Now, Alphen, just as she began to speak, a scream rang out in the thicket. Ah, someone help! Or, help someone! What was that? By the time Shionne called out, Alphen was already running. They drew their weapons as they ran, and Alphen... Is she holding the velvet sword in this screenshot? That'd be kind of funny. They drew... Oh, no, I think this is a little different. They drew their weapons as they ran, Alphen with his sword, Shionne with her gun. It was clear they would be necessary from the sound of the scream. They spotted the person whose scream they'd heard right away, as well as the cause of the scream. A Zoogle, a big one too. Its whole body was covered in thick bristles. Rising up on its hind legs, its front legs were lined with rows of razor-sharp claws. They could tell at a glance it was a formidable enemy. Its ferocious gaze was focused on Adonin in traveler's garb. Collapsed to the ground out of fear, he desperately tried to scramble backwards. Since the merging, none of the Zoogles could be controlled by the Renans anymore. This made Donins and Renans equals in a sense. They were equally likely to be attacked, though for Donins this was nothing new. Zoogles now attacked everyone, regardless of whether they were Donin and Renan. Not that this single point of equality was something to rejoice about, of course. The Zoogle roared. Alphen decided to stop overthinking. Saving this person came first. I was kind of still questioning, why does the blazing sword still exist? You know, I thought they wouldn't have access to the cores anymore after everything that went down, but maybe the sword just doesn't go away. Raising his voice to draw attention, he charged in, sword drawn. From behind him, Shionne provides the wrestling fire. She hit her mark, but the bullet was blocked by the thick fur and didn't go deep. So Alphen leapt in to slice its abdomen directly, but what should have been a deadly strike was thwarted by its claws, which responded with a sharp sound. Sparks went flying. The claws blocked his metallic sword. If they struck flesh, it could prove fatal. This is a very strong foe indeed, but Alphen had faced stronger beings on countless occasions. This was hardly beyond his abilities. The corners of Alphen's mouth rose defiantly. Just ready to fight. But Alphen, did the Zoogle sense it too? The bee suddenly shifted its focus from Alphen. It swiveled its head toward the traveler and went soaring in the air. In a single leap, it closed the gap between them. Damn! As Alphen cried out, glaring gunfire passed overhead and hit the Zoogle hard. Once again, the shots failed to pierce its flesh, but they did knock the Zoogle out of its midair pounce. A red light glowed in Alphen's hand, the blazing sword, his signature weapon. A torrent of flame that even burned the wielder. Yeah! Kicking up dirt, he drove a red-hot blow into the Zoogle from behind. No bristly hair could block this. The Zoogle shrieked, its whole body engulfed in flames, burned from the inside and out. It was no longer breathing by the time it hit the ground. Are you okay? Alphen addressed the traveler, who was still sprawled on the ground. Though dumbfounded at first, once he came to, he began nodding so furiously that his head seemed as if it would fall off. Thank you. I got careless and lost my way. And then the Zoogle found me. I still can't believe I was saved by the legendary Blazing Sword. The Blazing Sword, the name made Alphen tense up. But having just escaped an utterly terrifying situation, the traveler failed to notice. I guess he really doesn't like the name. He'd be proud to tell his friends, he said. With that and a repeating bowing of his head, he was gone. Alphen stood silently until the traveler was completely out of sight. Meanwhile, Shionne stared at him. As far as the Donins were concerned, the blazing sword was the very symbol of heroism. The moniker came from his blade, his signature weapon. Alphen didn't like being called that. It was one thing Shionne knew very well. Once he drew his sword, everyone knew who he was. Alphen understood this well. Nevertheless, the two of them knew that the blazing sword was necessary since they had lost it once before. Alphen would use the sword without a moment's hesitation to help someone, despite what it meant for him. That's the kind of person Alphen was, and that's why she... Something wrong, Shionne? He sounded worried. Yes, he was always like that, putting himself second. Oh, there it is. She wanted to do the same thing for him. She felt that way again right at this moment. No, it's nothing. Shionne gave a small shake of her head and smiled. Oh, here we go, okay. All right, let's go. For sure, I can't wait to see everyone. Hoot hoot. It doesn't look like we're forgetting anything. Indeed, I always can count on you. It'll be the first time we've seen each other in a while. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. A new journey in a new world. New encounters await with the start of a new story, to be continued in Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn. So there you have it. Everyone's paths are being lined up. I don't know how the DLC is going to handle it. Like, are we just going to play as Alphen and Shionne, and then as we go on, everyone's going to slowly meet up? Or are we going to have, like, a triple kind of, like, split off where you're playing as each individual group, making everyone meet up? But obviously the main point of, and maybe this is why it's been hard for them to develop their relationship over the last year, is because Alphen's always putting himself second. And obviously she is not super happy with that. Not like in an angry way, but it's like she wants to be able to support him like he's always doing for her and others. So that's probably something that's going to be addressed in the DLC itself. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So next time we'll obviously be hopping into the DLC itself, which releases pretty soon, and seeing what final adventure these 6 characters are going to go on, and see how things end up. So that's going to be it, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe for more to the channel. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day, everyone.